Hey Saints, Miss Man here. Today's lesson we're talking about volume, and volume is going to be how much space is inside of one of those 3D figures. We're going to learn that by calculating the volume of rectangular prisms with two different formulas. Our standard that we're focusing on today is 6.ga.2. That G stands for geometry. Find the volume of a right rectangular prism. Okay, guys, here are the notes that you were given for homework tonight. Volume of rectangular prisms. Remember that if any time you need me to slow down, pause the video so that way you can catch up. Starting with our essential question, how do you find the volume of a rectangular prism? Remember that we also highlight our essential question with yellow. Moving down to vocabulary, we're going to start with volume. What is volume? That is how much space is inside of a solid figure. The second vocabulary term is going to be bases, and that is going to be any pairs of opposite faces. So you can see the arrows are pointing to the top and the bottom of this solid figure, and those are going to be opposites as well as the side, and the front and the back. There are two formulas for finding volume. Volume is equal to length times width times height, or we can also use volume is equal to BH, where B stands for the area of the base. Moving to our first example, remember to highlight formulas for finding volume because that attains to our essential question. We are going to highlight step 1 with red and write the formula. So writing the formula, volume is equal to length times width times height. Then moving to step number 2, we are going to fill in what you are given. So looking at our solid figure, I'm going to see that my length is 3. My width is 2 1/4. And my height is going to be 4 1/2. Now notice that we're dealing with fractions, so we're going to have to do a little bit of extra work here. Step 3, we are going to solve multiplying two numbers at a time. So I'm going to take 3 and 2 1/4, and I'm going to turn 3 into a fraction, and I'm going to take 2 1/4 and turn that into an improper fraction, and then multiply across. I'm going to get 27/4. And from there, I'm going to multiply my last number, which is 4 1/2, turning that one into an improper fraction, which is 9/2. And I'm going to get 243/8. Remember that you cannot give that to me as an answer. You have to turn that into a mixed number. How do we do that? We divide. So 8 is going to go into 243 30 times with 3 left over. So our volume is going to be 30. Our denominator stays the same, and our remainder becomes our new numerator. Step number 4, we have to remember our measurements. Remember, you will get half wrong if you don't remember to put your measurements. So we are not doing area anymore, so our measurements are not going to be squared. Notice that we're multiplying 3 dimensions together, making this meters cubed. So our final answer is going to be volume is equal to 30 3/8 meters cubed. Moving down to our second example, we're going to use that second formula, volume is equal to BH. Remember that B stands for area of the base, and that to find the area of the base, we have to multiply length and width. So it's almost like they're cutting out the work for you. Kind of cool. We're going to follow the same steps as the example above. Step number 1, we're going to write the formula. So instead of volume equals length times width times height, we're going to put volume is equal to BH. Step number 2, in our green pen, fill in what we are given. So looking at our example, we have, I'm going to move my paper up. We have the area of the base, which is 20 meters squared. So for B, I'm going to put 20. And for H, I'm going to put 9. Step number 3, in our blue pen, we're going to start solving. So remember that we can think about this as 2 times 9, which is 18, and then add back in that 0 to make it 180. Step number 4, remember your measurements. So again, we're still going to have meters cubed for the fact that we had squared and then we multiplied that times another meter, giving us another cubed. So our final answer is going to be volume equals 180 meters cubed. Remember to do your summary at the bottom. I'll help you guys out with your first sentence. It's what we always use. Today, or in today's lesson, I learned how to ... You fill in the blanks. Tell me what you learned. Okay, guys, now looking at that practice problem worksheet that you guys were also given, let's go ahead and do number 1 together. So looking back at our notes that we just did, I'm going to look at step number 1, and it says to write the formula. So at the top of my paper, I'm going to write volume equals length times width times height. Step number 2, fill in what you are given. So looking at my solid figure, I'm going to see that my length is 6, my width is 5.3, and my height is going to be 2.3. And I'm just going to tidy up these dots to make it a little bit clearer for us. Step number 3, we are going to solve multiplying 2 numbers at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and take those first 2 numbers, 6 and 5.3, and I'm going to multiply them on the side of my paper. Now remember, we don't need to line up decimals when we're multiplying decimals together. 6 times 3, 18. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1 is 31. And I'm going to count over my places on my decimals, and that's how I'm going to find where it is in my product. So I'm going to get 31 and 8/10, and then I'm going to take that, I'm going to multiply that by my last number, which is 2 and 3/10, not 2.3. And I'm just going to put that right below 31 and 8/10, and I'm going to multiply out. 3 times 8, 24. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 3 times 3 is going to be 9. And then I'm going to add a 0 in the placeholder of that 3 before I start multiplying out. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And 2 times 3 is 6. Add them all up, and I'm going to get 7,314. But we're not going to forget about our decimals, so I'm going to count them up in my problem, and I'm going to find that I need to move my place value, or my decimal 2 places over. And that gives me 73 and 1400ths. Step number 4, we're going to remember our measurements. Remember, guys, we're not doing area, we're doing volume now. And we are multiplying 3 dimensions together, so we're not going to get squared like we did in area, we're actually going to get cubed. Remember to try your best on the next 3 problems and come to school tomorrow ready to talk about them.